Before this hearing accepts another polished phrase about online safety, the tax ledger must be placed on the table. Julie Inman Grant's eSafety office is no longer a small productive regulator. It has become a high-cost speech governance machine. $60.899 million in 24-25 expenditure alone, after eSafety's base funding was lifted from $10.3 million to $42.5 million per year. I bet you didn't know about that. Reports citing Senate answers state Inman Grant's travel expenses have exceeded $3 million, including more than $1 million in overseas travel across more than 20 countries. Do you think that's essential? Then there is the X. X was fined $650,000 and ordered to pay $100,000 toward eSafety's legal costs after a 3-year battle. But the $100,000 does not prove the taxpayer was protected. Listen very carefully, viewers. It proves only a partial recovery. The disclosed wider eSafety external legal spending against X was already about $2.19 million, with internal legal costs not properly calculated. So we don't know what that could have been. So the question is not whether eSafety spent money. The question is whether a taxpayer-funded regulator has expanded into an expensive, internationally travelling, litigation-heavy authority structure, while Australians are being asked to fund the bill and trust the language. Another thing too, off the outline, Anika Wells seems to have been used, as far as I'm concerned, as a scapegoat when she was caught with her hand in the till, as a means of moving focus away, as far as I'm concerned, from Julie Inman Grant's spending, be it legitimate or not. So this woman's about to leave the eSafety position. She'll take the money and run. And now we'll turn to this expose. Just let me say too, while I'm thinking about it, when did somebody decide that our children needed a parent to help them understand what's safe and what's not safe on the internet? The eSafety Commission set it itself up way beyond the position of trying to help children. I believe it's set itself up as an authoritarian, totalitarian way of reducing, as you'll see Sarah Henderson argue, individual children's that are genuine ability to learn. But you make your own mind up. Let's have a look at what happened.
I'm going to just chew my mint.
Just take
Okay.
20 seconds.
You have to have fresh breath when you're reading an opening statement. Thank you for the opportunity to address the committee. I would like to begin with a matter of significant interest to the Senate and to the Australian public.
I don't normally do this, viewers, but I'm going to comment in different parts of this because she's saying that she's addressing the Australian public. Well, that's very interesting because a lot of the Australian public won't see this. So let's see how she deflects and sets up a platform that seems to be like a fence that the Senate can't jump over. Watch this. Just want to quickly say the eSafety Minister's American and she couldn't pull this off in America because of the First Amendment rights on freedom of speech. So she came to Australia and got away into a position where she could penetrate and outwork what she was unable to do in the States. Donald Trump and his team have been watching her very closely. They're well aware of what she's doing. When you think about it, there is a need to stop children having access to destructive platforms on the web, but to completely wipe them out from learning under a certain age, that has gone into authoritarian, totalitarian eSafety measures. She never would have been able to do this in the United States in a million years. Don't worry, they're watching her. And she's about to leave because it's getting hot in her seat. She's going to leave this position. They won't advertise that until after it happens. But let's see where this goes. What she's doing is building a fence that's going to make it harder for the Senate to jump over.
In 2023. That is the reality of building a case that is robust, defensible, and successful. It is deliberate, and it takes time. Now, as a parent of under 16 children, I understand the urgency.
Viewers, just let me say, she said it takes time, but what didn't she say? The money. Millions and millions, multi-million dollars of money. Okay, she's not going to say that, but multi-millions of dollars.
Online environments now. eSafety wants that too, and my team is working really hard every day to achieve the strongest possible outcomes. As I said, we continue to focus on uplifting compliance, and only 5 months into these laws, we are already seeing early indications of progress. By March, we reported there had been
what she has said there is that it takes time, but what she hasn't mentioned is that it takes money as well.
Meaningful regulatory impact is rarely achieved in months. Major cultural resets eventuate over years. We've seen this with car, water, sun, and other safety standards and practices. By way of comparison, the ACCC's recent case against Coles under Australian consumer law related to conduct from February 2022. From this initial kernel, it has taken more than 4 years to reach an outcome in the courts. In the New Mexico case recently won against Meta, the investigation commenced in 2023. That is the reality of building a case that is robust, defensible, and successful. It is deliberate, and it takes time. Now, as a parent of the urgency that many families feel.
I just want you to know, viewers, that she's running this gig out of her own ideology. The majority of parents don't want this because it's hamstrung their children from vital educational resources. This is this woman's agenda. Now, she's got it kicked off and she'll leave this position and go and live a happy, wealthy life, and people will come in behind her without the same ideology, and it'll all fall in.
They want safer online environments now. eSafety wants that too, and my team is working really hard every day to achieve the strongest possible outcomes. As I said, we continue to focus on uplifting compliance, and only 5 months into these laws, we are already seeing early indications of progress. By March, we reported there had been a 37% reduction in the number of under 16s holding accounts, with parents consistently reporting much more constructive conversations with their children about online risks and social media use.
Now, viewers, that was already happening before they started all this. Parents are there to parent their children. This isn't parenting what she's doing. This is totalitarianism.
Today, I can inform the committee that since our March compliance update and direct engagement with individual platforms, we have seen improvements and reversal of some of the poor implementation practices we identified. For instance, some platforms have recently taken steps to restrict or age verify accounts that had increased their stated age to 16 in the lead up to or shortly after December 10th to identify further underage users who still had accounts on the platform. Another introduced new age verification measures, particularly when users attempt to change their date of birth to reverse circumvention of age requirements. The platform who gave under 16s numerous tries to jailbreak age estimation systems daily reversed this practice. We've also seen a reduction in administrative hurdles put in place by the platforms to stifle reports made by parents. And some of the—
Hang on. She just said to stifled reports by parents, but I'd like to see the evidence because none of this was voted for. So nobody really knows who's for and who's against it.
The major social media apps have increased their age rating on Apple's Australian App Store from 13 plus to 16 plus. So for parents using parental controls, this can help prevent children from downloading apps that they are too young to have accounts on. Now, these are important.
Well, it's okay. So this is where parents, if you've got a 13 to 16-year-old, you've got every right to monitor that phone. What she's saying is parents obviously don't have the intelligence to do that.
Developments demonstrating that sustained regulatory pressure is influencing platform behavior. And I'd like to reiterate that we have not yet completed our investigations or reached conclusions about the efficacy of these measures. That work is ongoing, and we will continue to assess compliance against the reasonable steps outlined in our regulatory guidance. Today, I can also update the committee that we have retained an external legal team to support our investigation and any subsequent enforcement action.
At your expense.
In the meantime, we will continue to use the full range of regulatory tools available to ensure that online spaces and tools are safer by design and by default by young people. Just last week, for example, we commenced another enforcement action against a popular AI-powered nudifying service.
At your expense.
This one accessed by around 50,000 Australians per month. I look forward to discussing our work with the committee and to answering your questions. Thank you very much.
And just let me say, viewers, this is going to stop 50,000 people, whatever. It's going to cost millions.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Yes, I submitted this for the record.
Thank you. Senator Henderson?
Thank you very much, Chair. Commissioner, thank you very much for your attendance and to your team. So you've obviously just given an opening statement where you've explained why there's no enforcement action as yet in relation to the social media ban. Do you accept that many of the reasons that teenagers are still not complying and they're on various social media accounts and there's a very high non-compliance rate is also because teenagers are circumventing the ban?
Well, it's not up to teenagers to comply. It's up to the platforms to prevent that circumvention.
No, I realise that.
No. And that's where she's gone wrong. Hang on a sec.
Yeah.
But the platform, so goes back to the defects with the social media ban, the way it's been designed, because the platforms can't do anything if teenagers are using a VPN.
That's not true. And in fact, if you read our regulatory guidance...
It is true. The whole... Look, I don't want to be pessimistic about this, but the whole thing really overall has failed because it does not lock these young people out. A little girl sat with the Prime Minister and heckled at him and said, I'll find a way around it. And they have. Now, she's not going to admit that because it's cost millions upon millions of dollars and really has just ended up in court battles and all the rest of it. She's getting out before it gets too hot. It's going to get hot, really, really hot, because America's watching what she's doing and it's against their First Amendment rights, which I mentioned before.
We had extensive conversations with the platforms about the signals that they can pick up to identify VPNs, and we put very technical information about the signals the platforms should be looking for to be able to detect and prevent the use of VPNs. Most of these companies will look at the IP addresses and the country that the account is allegedly in. If it changes over 3 months, then there may have been a movement, but and I'm not sure if you'd want to add anything further about some of those discussions and those signals that we put forward to them, Ms. King.
Thank you, Senator. Catherine King, General Manager. That's correct. There are an array of signals that we have identified in consultation with platforms around that can help identify VPN usage for platforms. That includes some of the ones the Commissioner mentioned, but also device IDs, telco information as well. So we know that platforms have a strong understanding of those signals. I will just add as well, in our Pulse survey that gave the indication of that number you referenced, the primary reason that young people were still on at that time was because the platform had not yet tried to age verify them. So that was based on the Pulse survey taken at the end of January.
Yeah,
and that's only a survey, viewers. The young people are dodging this left, right and centre. They're not going to say that. These people want to keep their jobs.
That's an important thing to add, Senator Henderson, because I did hear you ask the government about the 70% of young people still on. Those were
It's viewers, it's higher than 7%. They don't know what the percentage is, but it's higher than 7%.
Those were the young people that were on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, and that's precisely why we said those are precisely the 5 companies we'd be taking action against. Obviously, there's no reason, if they're taking reasonable steps, that particularly for the more mature companies that have very advanced proprietary classifiers and age inference tools they've built over decades, that they wouldn't at least ask them to age identify.
Okay, so
Do you viewers, just in the comments, please put this in the comments. Do you think YouTube is a danger to young people if it's used correctly? And if 13 to 16-year-olds are monitored by their parents, which they should be, do you really think all this is necessary? Put it in the comments, please, viewers, because this is huge.
you've seen a trend where some of these poor implementation practices, as you describe, have reversed, or you've seen improvements in terms of compliance by the platforms. Can you just provide more detail? So you've said another introduced new age verification measures. Which platform did that?
I can't divulge which precise platform has done it because it could undermine or prejudice an investigation. I can give you more detail about the...
Okay, so that's telling you immediately that there's hundreds of thousands of your dollars being spent to try and implement all this stuff. This idea that there's only 7% of people breaking past the barrier of this eSafety, it is not provable, and it would have to be higher than that. Every young person I've met seems to be able to just access it like it's not even there, like it's never even happened.
The tactics used, if you wish, like for instance, I talked about the jailbreak. That particular company used a third-party age verification provider who recommends that you give children 3 to 5 tries to be able to make sure you get the lighting and the angles right. This particular company gave an average of 24 tries every day, which suggests to me that it's giving them an opportunity to, again, jailbreak or circumvent and spoof the age assurance process.
Just take note of the word jailbreak, right? She's got these young people in social media jail, right? And if you come out of that, you've escaped jail. So is that totalitarianism or not? Put it in the comments.
Well, I think it's in the national interest and in the interest of parents and teenagers that there's an understanding about which platforms are responding to the concerns that you've raised. So I would press you on asking which platforms are responding, so the platform which has introduced new age verification measures. I mean, I think that's a matter of public interest. Right. Commissioner.
Well, why don't I refer to Ms. Snell, who will talk about the enforcement confidentiality requirements.
Thanks.
In other words, I'll be out of here soon, so let's hand it over to somebody else.
Commissioner, Senator Heidi Snell, General Manager, Regulatory Operations. The information that we have in relation to what individual platforms are doing, we've received under statutory compulsory notices. We still have ongoing investigations, as the Commissioner noted. We have not yet finalised our assessment of the effectiveness of any of these measures that they've taken and whether that is compliance. So because these investigations are ongoing, we would maintain that divulging the specific details about any individual platform would risk prejudicing the investigations and potential enforcement action. And so at this stage, I would suggest that it's likely we would make a PI.
What it would do, viewers, is expose how much you're spending on all of this, basically.
I claim in respect of information we've received in response to those notices.
Well, I was going to ask for that information that you have received, so I will ask for that information, and obviously it is open to you to make a PII
So we can
claim.
take that on notice. And
thank you. So you say that there has been improvements and reversal of some of the poor implementation practices. Have you been able to quantify that?
I'll turn over to Ms. King, but we're trying to take periodic measurement, as she said, through the pulse surveys. We've also we're issuing more legally enforceable notices over time, and we're layering these notices. So, for instance, we will be getting in this week some additional data notices, so we can get the information specifically from the platforms in terms of how many accounts, underage accounts, they've further deplatformed or restricted, for instance. We're also starting to send through what we call our systems and processes notices, which are much more complex, and these are asking much more probing questions about the technology, systems, policies, and processes they're using or not using to comply, and whether or not they're taking the reasonable steps.
So, viewers, what you're basically doing is paying for a global jail. What it is, it's a global youth lockout to social media, be it positive or negative. It's just a complete wipeout. Now, with a car, you can't drive a car until you're 16 and 9 months, I believe, without a license. Why couldn't they, why couldn't they have suggested a license? Why have they completely obliterated it? Because this woman couldn't do it in the States and she knew there was a loophole here and she's grabbed it. She's got the ball rolling. She'll go off and make a career out of this all over the world. She'll leave Australia standing. But you can see what's going on here. And we're paying for it.
Sure, Commissioner. I think it's important to understand, Senator, in terms of the investigations, that because this is information we need to acquire under notices for it to then be reliable as evidence should we pursue matters in court. It's not a matter of just sitting down with the platform and asking them to talk us through how things are working. So it's a matter of issuing a notice.
You know why? Because they're not going to. It's really none of their business. This is all intrusion into the world of big tech, right? They're basically cut off the hands that feed big tech to a certain percentage. So what you've got to understand is big tech realises what what's her name, Julie Inman Grant's trying to do, and she's using our country to do it. It's pretty bad.
Getting the information to that and then working out where we need to dig deeper, issue another notice that asks further information. And as the Commissioner noted, so for example, as we said, one of the things we've seen is some platforms taking steps to restrict or age verify certain accounts that had increased their age. So we expect that...
They're already doing that. If you're on YouTube and it's an over 18 clip, you've got to... you just don't go waltzing into it. I'm going to jump this because it's a little bit monotonous at this point. Viewers, what this lady's basically done is decided that she's going to use Australia to enforce her agenda on social media. Now, I don't know what happened to her to cause her to be this desperate. But let me ask you, can you or can you not parent your child? Okay, because this isn't an internet thing, it's a parental thing. And these people have made millions out of it. It's a scam.
Downloads. They weren't actual usage of the platforms, and the kids abandoned using the platforms after a fairly short period of time because the critical mass of their friends weren't there. And this kind of shows you the power of the architecture of what these major platforms have designed to keep young people entrenched and entranced. So we haven't, since that time, I think Blue Sky has self-assessed, Lemonade has self-assessed, is in...
To the extent we update our web-assessed
offering include YouTube because of the significant educational offerings of YouTube as they saw it. Have you had cause to...
So, viewers, what Sarah Henderson just said, the majority of parents that are contacting her are screaming out for their children to be allowed to use YouTube. But the eSafety Commission's not going to tell you that. They've got it down to a 7% request for their children to use. It's a lie.
To look at YouTube again?
Have you seen the Wall Street Journal article on the damaging content of YouTube?
I understand.
Did you just hear what she said? Have you read the Wall Street Journal on the damaging content of YouTube? Well, it depends on how you use it, doesn't it? See, this comes back to discretion. There's damaging content in schools. Are they just going to wipe out all the binary stuff in schools and things like that? No, they're increasing it. So this is a personal agenda on this woman's part, and she'll skip the country and she'll go make millions out of what she's done, and we'll be left standing going, what just happened? I never comment on videos, but I got to on this.
I still think
Commissioner, sorry, just to be clear, I'm aware of your concerns about material on YouTube. Obviously, previously there were child safety tools on YouTube. Now they may have been deficient. I'm not backing them in by any stretch, but I guess it's the one platform where children in particular are really feeling like they're missing out.
Well, children can access YouTube in a logged out state, and we made it very...
Okay, so there you go. She's just all the millions and millions and millions of your dollars that she just has wasted in court costs and all the rest of it. Children can still access YouTube in a logged out phase. And there's parents that are letting their children use their accounts. They have to for the children to develop. Social media is where the future is. AI is where the future is, and she's cut off the hands of the young people that need to learn it and use it wisely. Now, how can you use it wisely if you've been completely restricted from it? That means the children that do get access to it are going to have major intellectual advantages over those that don't. You've got to understand the gravity of this.
Very clear that if parents or teachers were teaching on them, they could still access YouTube videos. So that is not the feedback that we've been getting from parents and children.
No, of course it's not, because if the reality of it all come out, they wouldn't have a job, viewers. These people would not have a job because it's destructive. The overall ledger of whether this is constructive or destructive is as destructive, because it gives these young people no initiation capabilities. What they're defining young people as across the board is deviant. Well, if you can do it to the young people, you can do it to the adults as well. That means all the politicians are deviant. That's not a fair conclusion, is it? But by a lot of their actions, it's a lot worse than the children being on the internet learning about all this. You know, this is out of control. Our original...
Well, that's a general statement, Commissioner.
Our original advice to the minister with the compulsory advice is that we shouldn't specifically exclude any named platform if it meets the criteria, and we're concerned about the deceptive and harmful design features that children may be exposed to.
Okay, so what she's saying is, so there are porn platforms and all that, but that don't matter. Whether it be educational, constructive, tourism, whatever it is, we're going to wipe the whole lot out from children to access. She's got no right to do that, but they have. Right? But they have. It's God.
It was quite compelling in the number of children of that age who were sort of saying we really miss YouTube, but you make a good point. They can still access YouTube in a logged out. If they access YouTube in a logged out state, they don't obviously get access to any of the child safety parameters. That's the issue.
Can I just add,
yeah,
Commissioner?
Sure.
So
now they're in a panic because the whole thing was pulled down when the eSafety minister said they can access any of these places in a logged out state, YouTube primarily. in a logged out state, which completely undermines the whole construct of what they've done. Okay, that's, you look, big internet, or whatever they're called, big, I don't know, big cyberspace, whoever they are, they're coming for this. They're coming after it. And she might have pulled off this X case, which was spit in the ocean. $650,000 for X is a minute's worth of income. And she's going to make out that's great and how good they are. But it's been a multi-million-dollar legal warfare battle at our expense for children to still be able to access the net. Basically, that's the bottom line. This woman's running on an ideology that was never meant to be instituted through Australia, because it's not our spirit to be like that. You know, it's just, gosh.
In terms of the assessment, Senator, YouTube has not changed its features or functions since we did our initial assessment.
Yeah, and why would they? It's pretty well safe. YouTube itself is safe. It's the people that choose to abuse it. But what they're trying to do is say that YouTube's not safe. Okay, it's like the police. The police are relatively safe until they abuse their position. YouTube's not setting out to abuse its position. What this organisation is trying to do is control the internet, and you can't. And we're paying for it.
Assessment, and we're obliged to assess and inform our enforcement decisions.
Looking at YouTube in a logged out state, then they're open to looking at anything, basically, viewing anything, which is a concern. It doesn't.
Which is basically everything they've done doesn't work. You've got to get to the bottom of it, viewers. These people have made millions upon millions, Anika Wells included. Oh, God, viewers, it's the biggest scam.
Doesn't protect their safety at all.
I'm not sure that's entirely correct.
Senator Richard Fine, General Counsel. There are protections
through
our codes and standards.
So
it's not just you're in or it's Wild West. So there are additional protections from some of those other regulations that are in the online side.
Social media.
As an adult, essentially.
Even in a logged out state, though, the age-restricted age-restricted codes require that services don't provide content to under 18s, and so that means
and that's the problem.
But that means blurring. But that means if they are not doing an age assessment, so if people are accessing in a logged out state, then they don't have access to that material.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, is that they're accessing material which is not suitable for children.
Well, my issue would be that if there's evidence that that under 18s are able to access on YouTube in a logged out state content that falls within the age-restricted codes, then Google would be breaching that code, and we're happy to have an investigation into that.
At our expense. Okay, so what they're trying to do is police the internet, and it's never going to happen. Okay, and they're using Australia as a platform to try and launch it because we haven't got First Amendment rights. Do you really think, viewers, that this is necessary? Honestly. Because if it is, it's the parents that are the problem, not the children, not the internet, it's the parents.
Because in a logged out state, no one should be able to access age-restricted material. It should be blurred and they should be required to age assure.
Okay, thank you. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for appearing again. Mr. Fleming, don't take it hard, but we haven't accepted your invitation yet for a briefing. We're very, very keen to do so. We'll do it when we can. We've had a few things in the middle.
I've got a card here for you, Senator.
Great, thank you.
Just for you.
Farrer by-election and a few other things. Minister, my first question is to you. My questions to the Office of eSafety underscore the duality of the agency's performance. On one hand, their work in combating child sexual abuse material and adult exploitation material, including revenge porn and deepfakes, is effective and deserving of respect, and we've said that repeatedly. On the other hand, the performance of the eSafety Commissioner attracts substantial controversy for pursuing matters that are not exploitation or harmful in nature, accompanied by substantial legal costs and high-profile losses around overreach, as well as excessive overseas travel. My question is, the eSafety Commissioner has indicated she will not remain in the job when her term expires next year. Will you consider banking a saving here, not replacing the Commissioner, and in so doing depoliticise the office so they can get on with their core role of acting against child sexual exploitation and abuse material and other exploitation material?
Thanks for the question, Senator. I strongly disagree with the assertions that you've made about the work that the eSafety Commissioner has done. We will not be...
Viewers, she has to strongly disagree or she loses a job. It's as simple as that. Nita Green has to disagree or she loses a job.
Closing down the eSafety Commissioner, or the role that the eSafety Commissioner in the future might play, is playing an incredibly important role, as you indicate, managing an ever-changing online space. And this government has chosen to have a particular focus on the harms that young people are facing online, and we would not be able...
You've got to balance this out, viewers. They're talking about harms that young people are facing online. Okay? Harms that young people are facing online. And what about, though, the ignorance that it's causing for the young people that aren't online? Okay, because the internet, let's face it, it's the future. It's one of the greatest educational tools known to man. Right? And you start learning, we've got a 2-year-old that's speaking fluent conversations now, and they're internet experts. I'm not saying they're breaking these rules and all the rest of it, but they're advanced. They're advanced. Now, how are the people that are falling for this going to help their children to catch up? Well, the fact of the matter is they're not. So basically what's happening is these people are going to be left behind. They're causing the young people that need the internet but can't access it now against those that are, because they are, right, let's just say it, they are, they're going to be left behind. It's like a child that's not being trained to be a lap swimmer while others are. I know this is, this is just a parallel. While others are, they're just going to get left behind. It's a complete...
able to implement this really important work that is so important for parents and young people without the extraordinary efforts of the eSafety Commissioner.
I agree with you that the office has been doing a great job, but you didn't answer my question. So let's move on. That's a no then. One Nation will do that. Next question.
Okay.
The second periodic transparency report on child sexual exploitation and abuse material, published in February 2026, lists the efforts of the office to work with online media companies. Each time I read one of these reports, I see that there has been material progress on the part of big tech to get better at taking this material down. And that's in part from your efforts and other similar agencies worldwide. We acknowledge that. As an example, Snapchat is now responding to takedown notices in 11 minutes, which is down from 90 minutes. Well done.
Thank you, Senator.
Are there any
It's down
media...
to 4 minutes now, Senator.
Oh, that's
Wonderful. Are there any media companies that are dragging the chain in respect of child safety, exploitation and abuse material that you would like to highlight in this session?
Good question.
Well, we've taken action, as you would be aware, against X Corp in 2023. We issued an infringement notice. They did not pay, and we just were in 3 years of litigation with them and had a successful outcome. They were fined. They were
fined $650,000. They were told to pay the eSafety Minister $100,000, and it cost over $2 million. So
they admitted liability, and they have to pay costs. There are others that we're closely looking at, such as Telegram.
Just let me verify that again. X was charged $650,000. They had to pay the eSafety Commission $100,000, and it cost the eSafety Commission over $2 million.
But we've also used our illegal codes to tackle OMI TV initially, which is a chat roulette site.
What's the name of it?
It's called OMETV, OMETV. The holding company is called Bad Kitty's Dad, and it actually pairs pedophiles with children, and they didn't respond to our notices, so we used our App Store powers, and working very hard initially with Apple and then Google, they have actually deplatformed both developers and similar apps, at least 100 of them. We've also taken action against 2 major nudifying services. One that was
what sort of services?
Nudifying or declothing. So we're seeing child sexual abuse material being generated in schools and elsewhere every week. It often starts as an innocuous school picture or social media post.
Viewers, now she's brought up schools. Why are they allowing binary rubbish into schools, and yet they won't allow YouTube and all that? Because it's an agenda.
It's harvested. They have powerful LLMs on the other end, and you can basically, the one that we took action against last week said, just give us an image, a body type, and the age of the image you want generated, and we can do it for you in seconds. So this particular platform had 50,000 service calls per month by Australians, and the other 100,000 per month. So we're limiting the availability of these tools that can easily help generate child sexual abuse material.
Okay, thank you. Currently, Blue Sky must comply with basic online safety expectations, and they have a self-run minimum age gate. Is this correct?
Yes, and they've also self-assessed as an age-restricted social media platform, so they are subject to the social media minimum age, and we will continue to ensure that they are complying with the age assurance requirements, both as part of the age-restricted material codes, but also as part of SMAA.
How do you check?
How do I check?
Yeah. How do you check that they're complying?
Through the legally enforceable notices we were just talking about in terms of both data and then looking at systems and processes, but we have other ways of checking as well through reporting and through other means.
Okay. I'll come back to that later. I note you consider Blue Sky now to be low risk because they have only 40,000, or you just said 50,000? No, 50,000 calls, 40,000 local users. Yet the ABC have now moved the bulk of their posting to Blue Sky. How closely are you monitoring the platform, and at what point do they become a serious risk?
Well, they're under our sites now in the context of our codes and our standards and our social media minimum age. And of course, we sort of look at the fundamentals. I don't think they're more perilous than some of the other major social media companies that we've seen. No indication, unless there's anything else you've seen in the course of the Enforcement Task Force looking into their work.
Thanks, Commissioner. Senator, no, at this stage, and we use a range of intelligence to determine which providers or services to focus on. That includes and also reports.
$50,000 a day over 38 days should have been 24.7 is what you asked for. Is that correct?
This was using the fining powers or the infringement notice for the basic online safety expectations, which is not the $49.5 million you might be thinking of, but it's up to the courts to determine the overall cost. And I wouldn't say that. I mean, this win is a big win because we won in the federal court, and then we won in the appeals court, and we finally got them to admit liability.
Viewers, it's not a big win. She's about to bolt. She's about to leave Australia with the mess. They're coming. They're coming for Australia because she started it because she couldn't do it in America.
You may have missed this, Senator, but we're one of the only regulators in the world that's now had a successful case against X.
Yeah, because we're the only fools that are silly enough to spend all this money to try and make it happen, and she can't do it in America. You can't do it in some of these other countries. You're not allowed.
Senator, just to follow up on that, so the maximum penalty under that section...
Not interested in these people.
Yes, we'll take on notice, Senator.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's the end of it. This is the final exposure confronting Australia. A regulator created in the name of safety has evolved into a permanently expanding taxpayer-funded power structure consuming tens of millions of dollars, accumulating millions of dollars in travel expenses, millions in legal escalation, millions more in administrative growth, while ordinary Australians like you and I are told there is never enough money for housing relief, infrastructure stability, energy security, or cost of living survival. The X case stripped the mask off the machine. The public was shown the theatrical headline, X fined. But buried underneath the propaganda value of that headline sits the real taxpayer ledger. Years of litigations, millions in legal machinery, millions in regulatory expansion, millions in travel, millions in staff growth, international enforcement, networking, global coordination structures, and a regulator that still cannot fully quantify if its own internal legal expenditure is justified, because it's not. And that is not restrained governance. That is institutional consumption at the taxpayer's expense. Because when an agency grows larger through fear, richer through conflict, stronger through censorship disputes, and more internationally connected through permanent enforcement expansion, the public has a right to ask whether online safety became the justification for building an endlessly enlarging bureaucratic authority structure which doesn't work. Australians are now funding the flights, the conferences, the lawyers, the hearings, the enforcement battles, the international coordination, the public relations language, and the permanent growth of this machine. And after all the expenditure, all the hearings, all the litigation, all the speeches, and all the taxpayer funding, the country's still being told more power's needed, more money's needed, more control is needed, and more oversight of speech is needed. And this is the warning sign, viewers. Because a regulator that never stops expanding eventually stops behaving like a safeguard, which they're not, and start behaving like a system that feeds upon its own justification for existence.